I don't want to give anything away, but I was back there. We were standing back there watching the sizzle. And
It was sizzling, wasn't it?
the Rocky Mountain oyster appeared.
Not my best day at work.
Padma went, yeah! He just went, yeah! So I don't think that's going to work out.
Tom asked for seconds that day, didn't you?
That was
love those
you know what?
things.
That was a quick fire. I wasn't there. Okay.
Lucky for you.
Yes, lucky for me.
I mean, I think we can devote a whole show to Rocky Mountain oysters.
That'd be amazing. I'd love if we could do that.
So anyway, let's just do...
That's fucking nuts.
Adam can't believe he agreed to do this.
I was like,
He's already trying to find a way
I was
out.
like, my real concern was I have some questions, but they're superfluous because they're just going to yammer away the whole time. So, okay. And the questions are actually sort of stupid. They're very serious panel guys.
You didn't write them, did you?
I actually wrote them down.
Oh.
So the hell with them. The hell with them. No, I'll ask a few and we'll see how it goes, and then we'll just freeform. So anyways, 15 years.
15 seasons.
15 seasons.
Sorry.
We're
Fuck
not
that.
that old.
What's the difference?
We've done 15 seasons in 12 years.
Oh, sorry.
There were a few years where we did 2 seasons a year.
Oh, I missed.
We're
Sorry.
busy.
Intense, yeah.
Sorry. But anyway, that's a long time, right?
Still a long time.
Regardless.
And
Yes.
and I think I had some sort of impish friends when they heard I was going to do this panel. They asked me, "So, what's your favorite show of all time on Top Chef?" I was like, "I don't know.
Yeah.
There's been about 5 billion of them." And I sort of, not that many, but I like to view the show, and the show is sort of like this river that rolls along and you can dip into it now and then. But the thing that I've always thought was sort of great about it, that, if you've been paying attention to the food world in the last 12, 15 years, if you've realized that it's possible actually by some miracle to get a good meal outside of New York City, right? Like there's this regional cuisine and there are good restaurants everywhere. If you've noticed there are more and more women in your neighborhood kitchen. If you've noticed really that the kitchen itself has moved from this sort of cosseted back place where everybody hid and filled with all sorts of people that you wouldn't want to show in polite company, not just out into the middle of the restaurant.
Now
in
they're
many
at
cases.
judges' table.
Well, but just into the middle of the culture.
Yeah.
Right? And the chefs are now, weirdly, all sorts of things. They're cool, they're philosopher kings.
I love that he points to me. Cool.
When did you start wearing those glasses?
I love it. Bring
Was
on the cool.
Were you like wearing those glasses in the kitchen the whole time?
I always say anything for attention.
All right,
if
fine.
white glasses do it, if tattoos,
Anyway,
I don't care.
so-
Mohawks, whatever.
Anyway, so I'll conclude mine. So the point I'm trying to make is like, if you've noticed any of those things, you were watching Top Chef, to a certain extent, right?
That's high praise.
Well, I'm an intellectual.
No, seriously.
I'm an intellectual.
He's intellectual. He's told you that.
So anyway, and I'm going to ask these vague questions, and you all answer them, and hopefully you talk a lot, and hopefully maybe you fight now and then and get into spats. But so,
This is all true.
what do you think is that? First of all, are you surprised by the success of the show? I mean, you two have been doing it the longest. I mean, are you sort of shocked? I mean, when they first asked you, like, hey, hey.
Shocked at first. I mean, I've gone on record to say that I said no 3 times before I said yes, and shocked at the staying power, but then sort of reflecting on that, looking at why we're here as long as we're here, I'm not surprised in a way. And I think it's partly because we are, and not we, but the production team, that they're willing to change, not for the sake of just changing, but for the sake of making the show better. And that over the years, the mission has to bring on the most talented chefs that we could possibly find. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it has had its staying power.
I remember when we first started the show, really feeling like we were guinea pigs in a way. that there was no other show on the air quite like it. No one had ever wanted to make a show about professional chefs before in this sort of arena. And I remember that first season feeling like we were all sort of winging it. And kind of nervous, not nervous that the show would fail, because I felt like we were at the time doing something so small that if the show failed, I didn't really care if a few people in the middle of the country that I would necessarily never meet or never know didn't like it and that we didn't get renewed. I was more worried about how our industry would take it and how we would be viewed by our peers, because we were trying to make entertainment out of the kitchen. And that was a big risk, I think, at the time. But I also believe that Bravo always was on the same page as we were, which was to make a great show about the real life of professional kitchens. And they always sort of took our lead in that and kept it on the straight and narrow, so to speak. And then the most amazing thing happened. Not only did they not boo us off the stage, but they asked us back for a repeat performance. And then the funniest thing, the most amazing thing to me at least, shocking of all, was that all of those chefs we were worried about hating us, and peers, food critics, food writers, asked to be on the show with us. And that was sort of a moment where I was like, wow, we've actually changed the conversation.
I don't think I ever asked.
Now, you might not have. But I actually
I don't think I was
were
ever
like, by the way,
invited.
never asked.
You have
No.
an open invitation then.
No.
You don't have an agent, do you?
No.
But I think one of the reasons.
And I'm a restaurant critic, and Tom doesn't
Right.
like restaurant
I love restaurant critics.
We've had restaurant
You do?
critics on set,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But there
Anyway,
was also
carry
a
on.
time when you
Carry
couldn't
on.
show your face.
Padma.
I think one of the reasons that all of, the people that Gail is talking about, the captains of the professional food business, the captains of that industry want to be on, is because unlike a lot of food programming before and after us, many who have fallen by the wayside, some who are miraculously still on air, I think our show, I'm very proud of this fact, is really about the food.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really about the food. And we assume this thing about our audience, which is that they really care about the truth too. That they don't want the guy who is the most gregarious to always win because it's fun to watch him, or they don't want the girl who cries all the time. They genuinely rely on us and trust us to let the best chef and the best dish of that day at that moment win. And if we're doing our jobs well, then that's what we should do too. And I think we do.
Graham,
Yes, sir.
where were you when the show came out?
When the show came out,
Yes, sir.
well, we're talking about 12 years ago?
2006, 2005,
2006.
Yeah, so I was cooking in Chicago. at
What
the
was your
Hotel.
reaction? Like, who are these lunatics?
I agree. It's the same thing. You can tell when you are a chef, meaning you come into work and you are leading a team and they are willing to do 100 hours nonstop for the art of cuisine. You have a show that highlights that, and you have chefs on that show that are doing food that you identify with. That is something super powerful that, kind of cements the idea that what we're doing is right, and you want to push yourself forward. So that's how I was. I wouldn't have said I'm a contestant and I would do great, or I'm a judge and I would do great, because at that time the idea of a chef on TV was still kind of foreign, but it was something that.
Well, there have been a lot of chefs on TV.
No, now there is, but like as
They're
Padma
just
just
boring,
said,
yeah.
the idea that we're highlighting the best person, that gave it that much more credibility. Where there are shows where, you have 5 minutes to cook with your hand behind your back, go, things
We've
like
done that
are.
too, by the way.
No, I know.
But
That's on this coming season in Denver. They have to
Right.
no. But really, the fact that the food that's being presented is something that as a chef or someone that loves food, goes out to eat, cooks at home, identifies with, that's powerful because it made it that much more real. And again, having this caliber of judge behind it, was great. It wasn't just somebody that was, a great TV icon or a chef that was super fun that everybody, loved to laugh
we are
with. It
really
was-
not fun. We are no
the
fun.
meanest person
you-
on the planet next to me right here. No, come on, I'm kidding. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you watch that as a chef. You're young, you're growing, you're in the kitchen, you're seeing things, you're trying to please the food critics, everyone's going to write about you, and you're watching a show that, you're seeing like-minded chefs doing food that you identify with. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just speak as a layman, not even a critic. And back in the day, I would, when the show came out, I would do a hot take, trying to get your goat or nobody responded really. Didn't happen. But the best description that I've seen, although I haven't seen a lot, but it was Padma wrote in her very good memoir, and this is from the layman's standpoint, right? What it is entertaining, right? And from the layman's standpoint, and it's this weird combination of live TV but it's not live. It's ultimately live.
It's shot like live.
It's shot and it's clearly
Live
constructed.
you call
constructed.
it,
So
in the biz, live to tape, we call that,
it is live. You're probably doing it live, right? Yeah. And so Padma said Top Chef is a little like live sports. Anything can happen, plus there are knives and fire. I mean, that's a good concept.
It's thrilling.
That's a good concept.
It's like gladiators.
I think it's also thrilling to watch craftspeople at their jobs. We opened a window to the professional kitchen in a way that I think hadn't been done before, mostly because you're watching professionals do something that you could never do.
Yeah.
And the same goes for a lot of, same goes for watching a lot of competitive television, sports very much included. That watching a great athlete isn't that much different than watching a chef create within minutes something beautiful and satiating, and that's sort of magic. And I think it makes for great television when it's done right.
Right, and that's what I hear from people is that they just love seeing that creative process from the second, Padma tells them what the challenge is, instantly their mind's going, and then it appears on a plate an hour later or a half an hour later. And for most even creative people, they just can't fathom that. That process is so short and so immediate, and I think and spontaneous, and I think that's what's really great
I
about
can't fathom it.
Yeah.
I don't believe it, actually.
You have a deadline tomorrow morning
So
based on
this
this.
is the
great thing.
The great thing about
Yep.
the show, if we say you have a half an hour to cook, you have a half an hour to cook. If we say you have an hour, you have an hour. There's no suspended time on our show. It's happening.
Always.
You wouldn't know because you refuse to
Well,
be
can I
on
just
it.
tell you? Can I tell you?
Otherwise.
We had to have
Another
Bruni on.
show actually did invite me at one point. I don't think it was a success, my appearance, because I didn't get invited back. But what you notice, I was actually quite astonished at the quality of the composition. It was like, wow. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, they actually did this in however much time. Sure. So I was like, I don't believe that. What you could tell was the technique. Things were overcooked, things were undercooked. They were like running along. It was like they weren't a practiced restaurant, operation. So that's what I could tell. And nothing about me anyway. Sorry. So anyway, where were we?
Well, it's true though. Truthfully, I'm still amazed. We sit during elimination challenges sometimes, or quick fires, behind stage in what's called Video Village, and we can watch on all of the monitors while they're cooking. Otherwise, we don't actually get to see them. We're never in the kitchen.
Well,
when
you
they're
just hang
cooking.
out, right? What do you do?
Very little. We eat a lot.
Because you're
you say
literally,
you do
literally.
here?
I mean, these are how long are the days?
Depends.
Depends.
Some days are short. During the quick fire, I usually get to set, in the morning, I see what's going on, the lighting is happening. It's by the start to finish, say they have like 45 minutes to do their cook, all in, it depends. In the middle of the season, it's not that long. At the end of the season, it's even shorter. But in the first couple of weeks when there's like 17, 18, one season we had 19. I don't think we're gonna do that again, but it's a lot of plates of food and it takes a toll. But
You have to eat them all.
Yeah, I'm the
'Cause you're the
only
quick
one
fry.
on
These
this
guys
panel
just,
that
like,
actually
graze
eats
it.
every single thing on Top Chef. They get to cruise in for the main challenge. But sometimes, usually we open the show with Tom in the kitchen or wherever with me for the first quick fire. So that day is pretty much a typical day. It's maybe a 10 or 12-hour day. Then we have the elimination challenge, and that can be a really long day or a really odd day. It's also a split shift, so we start by coming to work at 3. We sit down, and depending on if they have to do a whole meal, if it's a team challenge, sometimes we're just eating 14 plates of food. And so that cook is staggered.
Do you like swallow it all and?
I always swallow.
There's no
Do they give you a
Adam.
You asked for that one, Adam Platt.
Oh my goodness.
I knew she was going to say
Well,
that.
the other thing is also that the days for the chefs are much longer than ours.
Tom, go ahead. What do you want to say?
Nothing.
Come on.
Absolutely. No, they're 12 to 16-hour days.
Yeah.
What's interesting really is 12 to 16-hour days. We have 6 cameras running pretty much at all times.
More than
and,
6.
And it takes 2 days to shoot an episode. You're seeing 46 minutes of that?
Yeah.
44 minutes of that? Think about that.
So
A lot
Padma,
of
in her,
footage.
in her memoir, in her book, she compares like the dynamic, especially among the judges, to really a family, right? And which is a wonderful thing, but it's also a slightly neurotic thing. And there are things that you do in families that you know. I mean, I tend to eat a lot, or some people cry, but there are things that you do to deal with the family. So you eat, right? You've said that.
Yeah, I eat.
And you gained, it's true, you
15
gained 17 pounds in Chicago?
In Chicago, I gained 17.
Cranberry Drano, does that mean?
Yes.
You guys
Yeah.
know what cranberry Drano is? Tom, do you know what that is?
No.
It's the
did you read
thing
her
that
book?
Jason always mixes and brings to me, that kind of purple sludge.
disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Purple drink?
It's
I don't know if it's,
it's
like,
not the luscious.
if it's not gin and tonics, I don't know.
I know exactly.
Well, okay, so
I used
that's
to
what
make the gin and
that was-
tonics
that's
for
what
the
Padma
first
does.
5
That's what
seasons.
Pa-
That's what a little show we
Yeah, that's
were.
what Padma does. So you just drink, right?
He drinks, I eat.
No. You know, actually, I got to say, I think the weight isn't necessarily from what we eat on the show. We're going out to eat because it's a new city. We're staying in hotel rooms. We go out to eat every night.
Yeah.
And there's something that happens when chefs go to restaurants. We get food fucked. Where
I'm gonna write that one down.
It's like dish after dish after dish, and of course we have to oblige, and so that's where I put
Yeah.
it on during the show.
I
Anyway.
do that every night.
I
Well,
think,
this is
I think,
true.
Tom, I think you summed it up where you're like, every time you film, it's like summer camp.
It's like summer
you
camp.
just
Right.
go and
For
you're like,
him, it's like
yeah.
Summer camp, we
yeah.
go back. It's all the same people, you know, the producers,
true.
camera
Yep.
people, and we have a great time. We have a fun time. There's a bunch of us that are musicians, and we get together and play. And sometimes it's better, and sometimes.
Right. Well, that's true. The thing is that happens when you're filming for so many years, and we all live in different cities. We live in New York. Graham, you live in Chicago, and most of our crew
I live in
lives
Brooklyn. That's a
in
different
Los
city.
Angeles. Yeah, and so when we come together, we come back as a family, and it's like a 6-week. It's like going on a family reunion for 6 weeks and working really hard. So they have been through so much of my life with me, and my daughter has grown up on the show, and Tom and I attended Gail's wedding during the course of the show, and so all these milestones have happened, and we're also filming in such an intense schedule. I mean, in 6 weeks, I get 3 days off. The crew gets 5 or 6 days off. We, usually the cameramen and stuff who are union, they have to have 1 day of rest. But 2 of those days are used for the promo, the ad campaign, all of the collateral that is now required of, digital content and stuff. So I go into a zone, and all I really do is eat, sleep, and be with my kid and be on set. I mean, Krishna's grown up on set. She's been there since she was 6 weeks old. She, has her own playroom, and Emerald always liked to go into her playroom because it had a painting station and a lava lamp, and so we've gotten very good at knowing what each other needs and what the show needs to work well. And when you work like that, it's really like a circus coming to town, pitching their tent, and everyone has their job, everyone has their task, and it's really amazing that these people come together. They make this thing, and then they all disperse.
And we fall into our
6
roles
weeks
very
later.
quickly. We all just
Yeah,
fall
and you
into
have
line
a
very quickly.
shorthand.
Do you ever fight and cry?
Oh yeah, we fight all the time.
Fight all the time?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Graham, do they fight all the time?
If you see me rolling my eyes
I don't
on
believe
camera,
a word he said.
I'm not rolling my eyes at the chefs. I'm rolling my eyes at Padma.
Totally.
Graham-
This is totally known.
Let's talk to Graham for 1 second. So you are, unlike these practiced,
Jaded.
jaded,
Lead old.
It's the same word, practice and jaded, yeah.
yammering critics, right? You actually are a successful contestant on a variety of these shows, right? You've won, no?
I haven't won.
Almost.
Yeah. I've been on 2 seasons of Top Chef Masters and then 2 seasons of
But you
Top
worked
Chef
your
and
way
then
up.
Junior.
You were.
Yeah.
So you've done that. So you've
I have.
You've
I'm the only one here, I think,
You've
that has
competed.
been
You've competed.
a
You've
competed.
contestant and competed and can tell you how stressful it is.
Well,
when
let me
all of a
tell
sudden
you-
you're told
But you've
30
also-
seconds left, and
hang
you
on.
turn around and it's like.
But you've been a judge too. So tell
Yes.
us a little bit about those two things and what the experience of being a contestant was like, and then what surprised you about being a judge. Like, what was the hardest thing about it?
I think what's amazing is that having been a contestant, you know, you can get in your own head and start thinking, you know, well, maybe it was this, or maybe I didn't look the right way, or if I'd done this, they would have said that. Like, and you literally have all these chefs, which, what's incredible about Top Chef as a show, as a brand, et cetera, is that these aren't just stay-at-home moms and dads or a lawyer and a whatever. These are chefs that have Michelin-starred restaurants or, you know, they're overseeing this operation, they're doing this. These are real chefs that put themselves out there for that. So when you're doing this show and you realize you have 30 seconds left and you have 1 minute to do this, whatever it is, if you don't win, you're wondering why not? You know, what if I had done that or that? And then being on the flip side and being a judge and seeing it, to know that it's 100% based on if you had the tastiest, best dish, that is super cool. Like literally going away and knowing that there's that much integrity to it is great, because there's a lot of shows out there, I will say, that do not have that.
So which is harder?
Which is harder?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's hard for me to judge because I always.
Being a contestant, it's got to be about 100 times harder.
Yeah.
Well, it's harder because
You could just say it.
Your future isn't in your hands, right? But at the same time, like doing Top Chef Masters, being able to go in there and cook next to like Wiley Dufresne and these other guys, it's like, this is the greatest thing in the world. I don't care if I cut my hand off and don't make anything. This is great. It's amazing.
That's the right
It's so
attitude.
cool,
So the
right? Of
experience-
course.
The experience.
No, but then to be able to come and judge and be like, I'm next to these great guys. I mean, you know, like, these are people that are at the pinnacle of their career. They've been doing this thing. They've set the standard for it all. And I'm not trying to blow smoke. I get nothing from that. But it's amazing, literally, to be humbled
might.
by saying, I'm part of this. And, you know, season
We'll bring it back
15,
next season.
like,
It's okay.
Yeah.
but
all right.
saying most shows don't last 3
Renew
episodes,
Graham's
much less
contract,
15,
right?
much less 15 seasons. So to be able to be on this side now, you know, it's super hard for me to judge because I think I'm nice to a fault. So I'm trying to taste things, encourage. Maybe I do this. This is what I think is
So
that.
you're a pushover kind of.
Yeah, but
All right, so
at the
let's talk-
same time,
Let's talk. Tom said you fall into your roles. So I think, I mean, obviously one of the great keys to the longevity and the success of the show is really the chemistry you guys have together. So how would you describe your roles? I mean, I have a couple of views on that, but go ahead.
I'd like to hear your views first.
Tom, what's your role? I have
ask
this thing. Can I just talk about my one? thing?
Right.
Just a little bit.
Sure.
No. So my thing about, I think Padma's like awesome on the show. And when she appeared, it was like, it was suddenly not a cooking show. It was as if Cleopatra herself
Padma.
came really, I don't know where Cleopatra is, out of nowhere, and was just deigned to like judge a cooking show. And it was like, you're like, what just happened? And you can see do your thing. Hello, chefs.
Hello, chefs.
Oh,
It's like Hannibal Lecter.
they're
a little
just
bit.
like, you can see them quake and go, and even Tom's like, you know, ooh. Anyway, so that's just my view.
I try
So
to
if she's
soothe
Cleopatra,
them, you know?
who are you?
Chef Tut.
You didn't bargain for that one, did you?
No, no idea. You know, what's interesting is as I mentioned earlier, we do fight, and you know, it's 5 weeks or 6 weeks, and we get into it. But I have to say, where it's like a family, like we can disagree, we can fight each other, but you can't fight with anyone here. We have each other's backs when the chips are down. We really have each other's backs. I think we do care for each other, and I think it shows. And so I don't know what role I play. I mean, it's like I'm dad half the time. I don't know.
I know what role he plays.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's hear what role. What role?
It's actually, she could answer that better.
No, I want to
Gail
hear what
can.
Gail. Wait, go
Yeah,
ahead.
let's hear what Gail says.
Oh, I mean, about
I want to hear about
Tom?
Gail's role. No, your
My
role.
role? I don't know. I mean, okay, so I've always thought of our roles as a little bit like if Padma is like the ultimate hostess of the best party, right? The best restaurant, the best thing, you know, the not the maitre d', that's not the right word, but
Cleopatra
of the restaurant world. And then Tom, I think, is the chef of the restaurant. And I've always felt that he treats every contestant on the show as if they were a cook in his kitchen. And if you made that dish in my kitchen, would I fire you because it was terrible? Or would I celebrate you and promote you? And so I feel that he speaks in a shorthand with them, which makes the show what it is, because he speaks with authenticity to them, because he's protective of them, because he understands the place that they're coming from, and he wants them to put their best foot forward because they represent the industry that he is part of. So I've always felt that that has been kind of a quintessential piece of the puzzle in terms of his role, is really treating the chefs like he would treat the cooks in his own kitchens. My role, I don't know, I like to think of myself as sort of the educated diner, the critic, the translator, you know?
The nice critic.
The nice, I'm, well, nicer than some people. No.
Don't
I am
buy
by
that
the biggest
outlet.
Adam Platt fan known to man. But, you know, I think that like over the years, my role has been a little bit to decipher that chef speak that Tom has with the chefs, because he's talking directly to them as their chef. And my role has been to sit to his left and translate for the audience a little bit of what it means when he tells the chef that their meat was over-rested, because we all take for granted that everyone knows what that means. So I kind of feel like that's where my strength has lies. Still does. Still lying.
Me?
You have a chance. You don't have to say.
I don't know. What do you
You're
think
just
my
along
role
for the ride.
is? What would you say?
Super cute. And
I'm
cool.
the super. They were like, we need to cast a super cute guy, and I'm like,
So
jump over there. No.
No, but I think it's actually having the perspective of actually going through competition.
Yeah.
I think that helps. It definitely, you know, I think kind of rounds us, you know, the panel out. You know, one thing that we figured out very early on was that because you can't taste the food, the viewing audience can't taste the food, that we have to have an honest conversation about what we're eating. And if we didn't have that, we couldn't convey that through the TV. And I think that's one thing that we do. We actually care about the food that's presented to us, and we're just really being honest. We're not pulling punches. We're not playing for the camera. We're certainly not trying to like just you know, be mean to someone for the hell of being mean. We care about the dish, and we're giving honest feedback and criticism.
how long do you usually deliberate? Because if you're watching television, it's like,
7 minutes.
Overnight.
It depends. There were times we've deliberated for 4 hours. There were
Yeah.
times 15 minutes we're like done, and
There
production's like,
Yeah.
gotta keep
were
4
days
hours.
where we
Like,
talked
When did that
until
happen?
7 in the morning.
Yeah.
There were 8 to 10 hour judges tables in early years.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were.
The sun came
The
up,
early
the
years, yeah.
roosters were crowing.
In
They had
Puerto
to
Rico,
reset
she
the
fell
lighting.
asleep
I fell
at judges' table.
That's true. I did. I mean,
Who was talking when you fell asleep?
no, they had to, truthfully, our season 4 in Puerto Rico at the finale, that was the Stephanie Izard, Richard Blaze showdown. And we were in Puerto Rico. We started judge table about 11 or 12 o'clock at night. We couldn't come to a decision. 6:30 in the morning, we're still sitting there, and the sun starts coming up, and the roosters start crowing. We're outside.
It's like
And
a jury. It's like
It,
you're
I mean,
It is
was
exactly
like
agony.
locked in a room.
Agony.
Yeah.
How does Tom behave in that? In those,
I mean, there
in
was
those
a lot of
conditions?
gin and tonics, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Who's the most stubborn
There's also,
of you?
that's when the eye rolling happens.
No, we all are.
You're all stubborn.
No, we all
Oh,
are.
yeah,
Your
no,
opinion
we really
is-
just
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
come to a decision. And so they had to reset the lighting, because now it looks like daylight, and the light has totally changed for the cameras. So they had to stop down for about 15 minutes to reset the light so that the lighting would remain consistent through the show. And so I put my head down on the judges' table, and 20 minutes later, Andy Cohen is like written with marker on my face. There are photographs in some deep, dark archives.
Oh, I have the best
That's
photographs
true. You do.
of her,
There's some-
honestly.
Ugly moments.
Some beautiful ones,
We have you in rollers and bathrobe.
Yes, that you can get at the basic Google search.
Yeah.
But I think Tom also has gotten a lot better in the sense that, like, when in our first seasons, my impression of it anyway, is like he would just get annoyed, you know, not just with Gail and I, but with also a lot of
Production.
with the contestants.
He's like, what am I doing here?
Well, no, I think also for Tom, there was more at stake, you know, precisely because of what Gail said. Like, you know, I signed on. I was supposed to do the show the first season. I was involved in the development, and then I just took a movie. And by the time they didn't want to wait for me to do the first season, so they did it without me. And then, I took the show on because I thought it would help my cookbook a little. So but like had it not worked out.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Sure.
I'm being
Tom,
honest.
why did you take the show?
I've told the story. My wife has said, she said, you shouldn't repeat this. They asked me a bunch of times. I kept saying no. And somehow in my head, I sat there and said, I'm tired of sitting at like book signings at Aspen Food and Wine next to 2 other chefs whose books I didn't think were better than mine, and not mentioning names, and they would sign like 200 books and I would sign 4. So it was for cookbooks.
It did help. Yeah, no, but I mean.
That's upsetting.
It is. But here's the thing. I was a fan of Project Runway and Project Greenlight.
Mm-hmm.
And especially Greenlight. And so I was like, all right, this, how bad could this be? This could be a lot of fun. Same producers, yeah. And so I thought, like, all right, this could be fun. But I think Padma's right. Because I was in the industry, and I was like, we got to get this right. But here's what I found out, and this is why I was really grumpy those early seasons. No, you do a little
When did they
self-reflection.
allow you to start drinking copiously on set?
It's not copiously, but
Okay,
I
fine.
do drink.
Just steadily.
I could tell you exactly. But let me finish what I was saying. What was I saying? You see, you're
That you had a lot at stake.
Just what you learned.
Reflecting.
Yeah, there was a lot at stake, but I think, see, I'm completely lost where I was going with that, though.
You said self-reflection.
I apologize.
Self-reflection.
Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. So all of a sudden I started getting grumpy because you have to get on set, and they call you to set, and you're there for an hour, and nothing's happening. I'm getting pissed off. It's like, why am I here for an hour, 2 hours before we're doing anything? And I realized that in my restaurants, my time is my time. I make my schedule.
Yeah.
I come and go when I please.
You're the boss.
Now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
someone's making a schedule for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, pissed off.
No, but I
So-
think you've also become more in your approach, or at least maybe in your delivery as you've aged, you've become more mentored. We've all aged.
I've mellowed
believe
like a
me.
fine
We
wine.
were
But
all
no,
6
we've-
when it started.
We've
Remember
all,
how long it's
I mean,
been on
but
the air.
I think you're more mentorly, if that's a word,
Yeah.
in your criticism. I mean, the one thing I think is very important is to not tell someone that their dish sucked without telling them
Why it
sucked and what they could do next time to hedge their bets against that happening, to manage your time, to not leave that meat on the fire as long, to let it rest, to whatever, to season, like all these little things. We've had contestants who have not been able to internalize that feedback and implement it into the next challenge. And the ones who have done well, whether they've ultimately gone on to win the title or not, have been nimble enough on their feet to actually absorb the information in the spirit that it is given, in the context of the competition and the parameters of our show, and make themselves better. And it's an extraordinary thing to watch.
Can you spot the winners right away in the beginning?
No.
I always can.
I think,
know.
well, you obviously have magic powers.
Actually,
I would.
I really can't. But I think early on it was easier in the beginning.
We can
Am I
usually,
wrong?
we
Yes,
can, we
it
can
was
usually
easier
figure
in the
we can
beginning.
usually figure out who the top 6 or 7 are.
In the
maybe.
beginning,
I think
maybe.
I think we
But
can
people are
decipher who
surprised.
the best cooks are, but that does not mean they'll be the winner.
Right.
Because you can be the best cook in the season, but you need to also then understand how to play the game.
Right.
Oh,
Our time
I'll give you,
is
I'll give you,
up.
I'll give you, yeah. Anyway.
You have
Question time.
5 minutes, chef.
it's question time.
5 minutes.
So these are audience questions, and I'm just going to read them randomly, and you can all fight to answer them. As a Denver native, we are known as a meat and potatoes city.
I'll say.
What surprised you?
You have to realize I eat so much.
She eats a lot,
I
Charlie.
like sometimes 8,000 calories a day.
Jesus.
It's
How do you stay so thin? I was going to try to not ask you that question.
I know.
Never mind. It's okay.
It's not rocket science. I gain the weight, and then I take twice as long to lose the weight that I do. I mean, my
right.
poor.
I see you on a treadmill in the mornings. Come on.
I don't think she's.
I exercise. I
think
do.
she carries this.
What's the question?
I'm trying.
Meat and
Denver,
potatoes.
meat and potatoes.
What surprised you the most about the culinary scene in Colorado?
I think actually what was interesting about Colorado, which I really had no idea about, was how quickly the city is growing. It's one of the fastest growing cities in America right now. And there's a huge influx of young people. It's become a big tech hub. There's a lot of startups. And with that influx comes gentrification of new neighborhoods for housing, and with them come restaurants. And I actually was so excited about some of the restaurants we got to eat in Denver, because there are a lot of young, edgy chefs who have left more expensive, more populated, more competitive restaurant cities to cook there and actually be able to stretch their wings a little bit and do some really good cooking and interesting cooking. We ate at some great restaurants, like great young, small, sort of edgy places that I think I didn't expect to eat at. I mean, there's still a lot of meat and potatoes, but I actually didn't eat very much meat or potatoes when I was there. Except in the meat and potatoes challenge on the show.
It's better meat than potatoes, though.
Yes, that's true. It's good, damn good meat.
All right. Every season, it seems, the judges comment that the chefs are the most talented they've ever seen. I've noticed that.
Did you write this question, Adam?
No. Is that true? Has each season really had the best chefs than the last season? I'm thinking about all the seasons. Who do you think was the most talented of all? So that's a two-part question, and it's a good question. Have they gotten better?
I think that every season there are, the top 3, 4, or 5 chefs are as talented as any season. I think in terms of the most talented cook, forget about chef. Chef means that you're a boss of an organization. It literally means boss. If Bruce Springsteen were French, he would be called the chef, not the But I thought that Paul Key was probably the most talented cook in the bunch over 15 seasons. There are chefs like Mike Isabella has 14 restaurants.
He's successful, yeah.
A lot more than I have.
Yeah.
He's done really, really well. He's probably the best chef, I would say, at this point, of anyone that we've had.
So is he a great organizer,
done.
great businessman? He'd think things out fast.
It's a lot of different things.
He knew what people liked.
He's doing concepts that just make sense and that work, and yeah. But no, but I think every season when we say that, keep in mind, when we're saying that, it's usually because there's about 3 or 4 left, and they're damn good. I mean, we have really talented people.
And sometimes it really comes down to like, gee, you didn't put that extra sprig of parsley so that my 7th bite didn't have any parsley on it. We're reduced to doing something that absurd because that's how close the competition is.
Grains of salt.
Salt's important.
No, it's true. The
Even I
better
know
they cook, the harder it is for us to do our jobs. But no, I think that every season, we think of the casting of a season as a whole group. And I think our casting department actually doesn't get enough credit because if you think of the thousands of people who apply and they narrow it down to 15 people, and those 15 people can't just be only the best cooks and that's the only criteria because again, it's television. It has to be interesting. So these 15 people not only have to be extraordinary, exemplary cooks, professionals at the highest level, have to have great narrative, interesting story, diverse background. We also stack the deck, making it 50-50 men to women, which is not, by the way, indicative of the industry.
Right.
Or any industry.
True enough. Totally. So I think that creating that.
Oh, wait, except one.
What?
Motherhood.
Oh.
What did you think I was going to say?
Well, we should probably talk about that. I mean, Tom, you've commented on this, right?
We can.
I mean, yeah.
What's the question?
I mean, sorry.
No, I was just going to, that one piece aside,
Right.
creating every season and the role, and the chefs as a whole, I think gets harder and harder. We have to dig deeper and deeper, and it's amazing. I mean, the season coming up, I don't know if every single individual chef is the best chef that's ever been on the show, but it's an incredibly interesting cast, and they're damn good cooks. So, it's exciting because that's what's so great about food. There's infinite dishes, infinite things, infinite chefs doing, amazing things at every challenge. So I do think that every year we get to see talent that we'd never seen before.
Colorado this season, though, is one of the most diverse casts we've ever had. We have, guy doing soul food via the Amish influence because he grew up in Pennsylvania. We have
Excuse
a
me?
Vietnamese. I'm serious.
Soul
Amish
food.
soul
Soul
food.
food
I'm
and
not
Amish.
making this
That's-
up.
that's-
It's in Brooklyn.
But-
Let's go check him out for brunch.
Come on.
No, but I'm serious. And then we have like Vietnamese American food from this guy named Tu. We also have a woman who does Pakistani food, who's great. We have a chef who worked under Eric Ripert and who grew up with Latin influences, and she's one of our youngest contestants, and she's great. So there are all these different, and I'm sure I'm missing other. There's the first contestant we've had from Alaska this season is on our show. So
Right.
there are a lot. This season
Culinary
is
hotbed.
very diverse.
All right, Graham, this one's for you.
Okay.
Okay. In a world with social media, how do you manage to keep the show a secret?
How do you manage to keep it a secret?
Yeah.
I don't know. I get yelled at because I want to tease everything and I want to post pictures of everything going on. So yeah, I gotta watch myself with that too. So I think it is hard to keep things a secret, but at the same time, you want to keep everyone entertained and excited and let them come along for the journey. So
Did you read
know.
that contract that we signed?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's why I get yelled at. But it's like, okay, read the fine print. And it's like, don't tell people what the challenge
there's
is.
one word that scares you, and it's prison.
But there's also
Of $5 million and prison.
there's also something we do, which is the closest we get to a prayer circle. It is that at the end
true.
of the last episode, when the balloons come down, the champagne gets popped, I unhook my corset. We all get together, and Dan Cupforth usually, who is one of the owners of Magical Elves, is the production company that makes our show, gathers everyone together, including the contestants or whoever we've called in of their families, and we say it's really important that we all make a promise to each other to not give this away, this beautiful thing that we've worked hard to create. It is not going to be fun for anybody, especially not you guys at home.
Right.
It's like knowing the score of the basketball game before you watch it. And, unless you're a Knicks fan and you know how the score is going to go, you don't want to know. And it's the same thing.
Yeah, there's that and prison. Yeah.
All right, so this is an interesting question, sort of. How, if at all, did the altitude affect the challenge?
The attitude?
The altitude.
Oh.
How long?
It didn't really.
You
The chefs all studied. The chefs all studied ahead of time.
That
They all
doesn't
knew
mean
they
it
were
all
going.
worked.
Yeah, but they kind of mitigated.
They didn't run out of breath?
Yeah, they.
No, they did. They did.
Did you
they
guys
did.
ever
Joe,
feel dizzy or faint?
Telluride is hard.
That,
Yeah,
yes.
they did.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at altitude.
Yeah,
I think that's how I think it affected the show, is that
Yeah.
for cooking it out, cooking, the minimum we were at was 5,280 feet, right?
3,000 change.
I thought
not a
that,
lot.
Denver's a mile high.
yeah,
5,100.
5,000.
Is it 5,000?
Went to the baseball game. They got the red line at the stadium of like when
Yeah.
you're at a mile.
Math is not
5,100.
Whatever it is,
strong point.
that, cooking at altitude definitely changes the way you cook, and you need to be conscious of it. So I do think it was another layer to the stress of the chefs. I also think that not everybody did well. We got higher and higher as the season progressed. We did an episode at 12,000 feet.
We were in Colorado.
Yes. Higher and higher. And I do think like physically it affected people's health and
Affected
their
my health.
mental capacity. I mean, people were like foggy and tired.
Move slower.
You move slower, you're out of breath, you cannot drink.
Don't believe that altitude.
Right.
No, also,
sorry.
I mean.
So the answer
yeah.
is yes, it did affect it.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
totally
subtle
affected.
ways.
Like there were contestants who were not as in shape, and so they found it hard for some
Yeah.
of the challenges.
There was cast and crew. I mean,
Chef,
yeah,
yeah.
crew
I
got
mean,
sick.
I, for instance, it slows your digestive system down.
sure does. It does
And that's
not.
why it does.
Really?
Of course
Yeah,
it
it
does.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it takes longer to digest food, so you get literally full, Adam. I mean, I was
Okay.
drinking twice the amount of cranberry Drano.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, there's a scene that you'll all see when it premieres on, and you'll see it every episode. It's the beginning of the show. I'm in this like huge Gone with the Wind like dress, in the middle of this beautiful old-timey street in Telluride. We stopped Main Street, cranes and everything.
So we were
And
literally full of shit.
Totally. No. But
Padma
I
O'Hara.
eaten so much that like between shots, saying, welcome to beautiful Colorado, you know, smiles, smiles. I'm literally yakking into planters between shots. And we only have the street blocked off from the city of Telluride until 2, p.m. or something, and they're trying to get the shot. And like, my assistant is literally holding my hair as I'm vomiting into every receptacle possible.
Compost.
Not even in college on freshman year did I throw up this much, Horrible.
Okay.
It was bad.
I mean, listen,
anybody tweet that?
I eat.
All right,
this
fine.
whole
Let's
show
move.
depends on my digestive
All right.
tract. It's a big deal. It is.
I would argue.
All right. There's another question, but we're not going to ask that one. Okay, Tom.
Yes.
Is there a chef that was eliminated in the final round that you feel should have been top chef? I think he's probably talking about the whole show.
No, they're probably specifically asking about Nina, I imagine. No, and part of the reason is it's not a cumulative sort of challenge or event or show. We judge based on who won. I'll give you an example. So a couple years back, the Giants, I think they were, maybe lost like 6 or 7 games, and they played the Patriots, and the Patriots are undefeated in the Super Bowl. And what do? Do you go to the, 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter and go, oh, no, the Patriots had a better season, game over. You play the game. You play it out, and that's what we do. Mm-hmm. And Nick Elmy, I thought...
This is a season 11, right? This is the New Orleans.
Yeah.
This is one in New Orleans.
And and we looked at this so many different ways. Remember, you, Atchison, came up with this other scoring thing. Like, this thing is, there's no set way we actually judge. We work it out. We talk about it. We work through it, and we tried to assess numbers to this. And
how many were you? How many there were you?
There were 5 of us, I think. That
Yeah,
one.
5 of us. Often there's 5 of us.
And you
at
do
the
it.
end.
It's an odd number, and you vote.
Sometimes
it's
odd,
not
sometimes
a
even.
but it's not a simple
It's not
like
voting.
You got to
vote.
convince
discuss
people.
it. Right. We have to convince people, and we try to go in there without knowing where people stand, and we just it's push and pull. And at the end of the day, Nick slightly edged her out. So no, I don't
They
think
wouldn't
so.
let us leave the judges' table if we didn't feel comfortable with the decision. That's not to
We
say that
wouldn't
every
have
time.
left.
No, we have to agree.
Yeah,
have to agree
we
when
like
it's over.
we like to convince each other
and
or
this
not.
is who makes the decision, and the guest judge. The producers.
I remember on that one,
producing, but
you agreed to disagree also, right?
Well, the
Sort
thing
of,
is
which is
also
fine.
Yes,
what
it's
they
fine.
what they do is they also separate us, and we have to eat both the contestants. So like maybe Tom
we got a
and
different meal.
you
Right,
know
they stopped doing that. Yeah.
they stopped doing that now. But like for many seasons,
Oh, so you eat different.
Yeah,
You
but we
eat
just
the
go to
same-
both
we eat the same
restaurants.
That's
but
different.
They break us up.
That's
It
different.
could, they could be a very different meal that the two groups have.
But no, we no.
We eat different plates of food. It happens.
I
that's
believe,
different.
I believe that the winner of every season was the person who should have won that. And I the closest I think it's been in my mind was the May Gregory season. That
Boston.
was so damn close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was great.
I would agree
Yeah.
with that.
Tom, Graham, you could answer this too. How would you do on Top Chef?
I did an interview earlier today, and I said the same thing. When I was 26 years old, you probably remember this, I was a chef at a restaurant called Mondrian.
I don't remember that.
And
That's way before my
it
time.
was my first chef's job in New York. I got a 3-star review in the New York Times. I think I would have done well. I'll just leave it at that.
The New York Times,
Yeah. Well, you were not reviewing for New York
no.
Magazine. Gail Green was at the
That's
time,
it?
and she also gave me a pretty damn good review.
that's good.
So, and then when I was 36, I think you gave me a pretty good write up.
You're a great man. I've said this many times.
So I think I would have done. I think I would have done okay.
So in your prime, that's what,
In my
that's
yes.
what you're saying.
Not now.
When he had hair.
I would do it now. Absolutely not.
But I also think it's unfair to ask you because you know what the competition is.
I'm just saying, if I were 26 again, or 27, or 28.
No, I think you're. I
would've done
I
okay.
think he's right for the record.
I would've done
I think he would have done fine. But he would have gotten mad at everybody. If you could cast a second All-Star season, which chefs would you want to see return?
All of the winners. All of the winners.
I would
Yeah.
do all the winners.
All
I
of the
really
winners would
do.
be
We
fantastic.
have now we have 15 winners.
15 winners, man. That
It'd
would
be
be
the
awesome.
perfect season.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I am pretty certain that they have no interest in getting their titles taken away from them.
Are
So-
spending the 6 weeks
Or right,
sequestered.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem is, they're
Yeah.
all too damn successful at this
Yeah.
point and don't want to leave the restaurants anymore like they did when they first did their
We're
season.
trying to figure out how to
Not
get them
all
all
of them.
back. But
Yeah.
one of these days we will.
Just we want to see
But
it
hey,
too, you know.
the show's gonna go on forever
all
anyway.
the chefs that came in second. That would be cool too.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Who was more successful, the ones that came in first or second?
Probably second.
I would say that there's an argument to be made for the second, third, even fourth place winners, I think, having a little less pressure on them. And I mean, there's been a lot of huge success stories regardless of being the winner or not.
I mean, Dale Talde never won, and
I don't think he made it to the
I
finals.
didn't know he was even on the show.
Yeah.
Sorry.
What?
But
Sorry.
you know,
We made
he's
him.
done so incredibly well. Carla Hall never won. You know.
Right, and Dale got kicked off the only episode that I wasn't at judge's table. Just saying. Just saying.
You'd have kicked him off that day.
I don't know.
This is an important point, though, whether it's Top Chef or any other kind of competition show, music, art, painting, hair, whatever you think. It's somebody that believes that they have a voice to get across and that they're talented at what they do and they're willing to put it all on the line in a hope to get that across to people at home. And I think that that's something that we're saying right now, whether you win, whether you go home, whatever it is, as long as you do that with integrity and you feel that what you have presented to people, had judged, et cetera, comes across in the right way, then you're a winner no matter what. So.
All right.
It's true.
There are a bunch of these. Let's do a few more and then we'll.
Okay.
I like this one, actually. It's a good one. Which Top Chef contestant would each panelist choose to make their last meal? Yeah, that's a good one.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Okay, you first, Tom.
Why do I have to go first?
Okay, don't. Padma.
Kristen Kish. And she has made many meals for me, so I know she'd do a good job. Also, Kevin Gillespie would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin.
Stephanie Izard.
Who?
Stephanie Izard.
What would they cook? What would Kristen cook?
Um,
In other words, what would your last meal be?
I would ask her to make 3 different kinds of pasta.
Crispy pig face. It's a specialty. Sounds
Oh,
great. too.
God. Tom.
God, I don't know. It all depends. I mean, I'm trying to answer that honestly. I don't know. A kind of a combination of them. I think, some of the stews that we had from Gregory were just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
You know,
Delicious.
and that's kind of what I'm thinking of when I'm, that comforting meal.
Well, think about a last meal.
I think Nina's, like the Caribbean food that she did, not the Italian food that she did, was fantastic. The dessert that May made in the finale, the yogurt the dish was just amazing. There's so many dishes that I want for my last meal. So it wouldn't be one. Can I have a couple of them and just do individual dishes?
Smorgasbord.
Yeah,
be
a
your last meal?
multi-course tasting.
My last meal would
Watermelon
be,
tuna
no, my mother's Sunday gravy. I mean, that would be my last meal. That's, that goes without saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's really hard. There's so many amazing talents. We've eaten such great food. I don't know. I would say maybe Sarah Grunenberg, the way she's cooking right now at Monteverde in Chicago. I mean, I could just lie down in her restaurant on the floor and die happy. And very comfortably, too.
Well, they all sound good to me. Last Chance Kitchen has been great. Kristen Kish from season 10, one going through. Are you bringing it back?
We're bringing back Kristen?
No.
Last Chance
Oh, Last Chance
Kitchen,
Kitchen. Yes, we're bringing back Last Chance Kitchen. Yes,
You
we are.
can't, so it's not even being back. It's like there all the time.
Oh, it's
Didn't the winner last year win through?
No. Did they? I don't know. No.
Brooke?
Did they?
Brooke, yeah.
Brooke did. Yes. Brooke did. Yes.
Ah, I watched
A
that.
lot of people
Memories.
in that
Memories
kitchen.
just doesn't.
I watched
it's
that.
tough these days.
I watched that. We'll do one more.
You restaurant critics should do like a Last Chance Kitchen. You should come back and give us a second shot.
From the dead, yeah.
You don't like restaurant critics.
I love restaurant critics. No, come on.
We can teach you things.
You do. I know. I often say it. You have to review after you get sort of You get over yourself, and you read the review, and there's gold in those reviews. There really are. Yeah, there's nuggets. An occasional nugget.
You just gotta really pan for it, like a 49er, like the guy with one tooth panning for one good compliment in the review.
I'm not going to read these anymore. All right, hang on. I'm running through these. Oh, this is actually not a bad one. We'll end on this one. Is there a contestants whose restaurants you've gone to because you were so impressed with them when they were contestants on the show? And I'll add my own addendum. Were the restaurants any good? Who's got the best restaurant?
Oh, there's so many too.
I haven't been to
been
all,
to
so
all
I don't
of
know.
them.
Yeah, there's a lot we haven't been to. There are, at last count, like 175 restaurants by Top Chef contestants in America right now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's extraordinary. I don't think,
Yeah.
it's true, I know. I don't think there's any other reality show that can boast that kind of success from its contestants, not just winners. Granted, it's easier to open a restaurant than it is to get like a recording contract, but it is amazing. And I try to go whenever I'm in a city where I know there's a contestant who has a restaurant, you know, I always try to visit them just to support them because I'm proud of them. Nina Compton's restaurant in New Orleans, Compère Le Pain right now, is extraordinary. Sarah Grunenberger just mentioned Monteverde in Chicago.
Doug is about to open a restaurant, right?
Oh, that's right, in Portland.
Stephanie.
Stephanie's restaurants are killing it.
I actually have one more because this is sort of cute, and then we can go. Tom, but you can all. One more?
I get a cute question. Nice.
You do?
You said it's cute.
Save the cute for last.
Really?
You said it was
said
cute.
that. It's a cute question.
It is sort of cute. Who are you saddest to see go on any season of Top Chef?
Who am I saddest to see go?
Saddest.
Always the first one out.
Oh, you're right. Oh,
First one
that
out
is
is
so
always
sad.
sad. It's like they come on and they have so much hope, and
Oh.
the first to go, it's like, oh,
It's the
God,
worst thing.
This just sucks. Yeah, I hate it. And she does it, and it's just like she loves it, and it's like, no. No, that's the tough one. It's always the toughest one.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the crappiest part of my job, actually, to just look into someone's eyes and
And they really are not happy.
tell them to, you know,
They're
pack
never-
up and go.
they're not
It's
happy.
horrible.
Sometimes they know it's time. Sometimes they really do.
The nice
Yeah,
guy
if
last
yourself-
year was the first guy. He was fabulous.
Yeah. That was a tough one, but we,
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Gregory.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam Platt.